you have known about Apple Pay, as it turns out, for nearly 2 years. What was MasterCard's first reaction when you guys caught wind that Apple was working on Apple Pay?
Yeah, so we were approached by Apple, as you say, about 2 years ago. And the first thing we wanted to make sure was that when we invest in something like this, we wanted to make sure that it was going to be in keeping with what we want to accomplish in digital payments. So Apple's obviously a great company, and they do some amazing things in terms of consumer-facing services. But we do some great things around payments at MasterCard. And so we wanted to make sure it really was going to be two great companies coming together to do something really amazing. And so one of the things we really wanted to make sure was we were aligned around the fundamental objectives. And that meant a great user experience, which of course Apple really brings to the table and excels above all others, but also a really secure user experience. And so we think we know a thing or two about payment security. We've been at it 45 years. And indeed, we've been working on advanced security technology for the last 20 years. And we wanted to make sure all that knowledge and all that expertise got embedded in the value proposition. And the great news was when we talked to Apple and when they got serious about it, they had a very similar vision to ours about security and about how we could make this the best user experience. So once we established that, we were all in at MasterCard.
But there must have been an initial concern that Apple Pay would eat into your existing business, no?
So I think as long as it was going to be a MasterCard that was embedded in Apple Pay, which is really the construct that's been created, we were comfortable that the brands could coexist. And we actually saw a lot of value in bringing the brands together. And that's not just Apple and MasterCard, it's also our issuer brands. So when a consumer uses their iPhone 6 or 6 Plus to effect a payment through Apple Pay, they're still making a MasterCard transaction. And it's still a MasterCard that's issued by Citibank, Bank of America, Capital One, Wells Fargo. So those three brands, which the consumer knows about, Apple, the issuer, and MasterCard, really come together. And each of us brings something unique. Obviously, Apple brings the technology and the user experience expertise. We bring the payment security. And of course, it's ultimately the issuer who is either looking after the consumer's money in the case of a debit transaction or is extending credit in the case of a credit transaction. And so for the consumer, they want to see all of those brands there. And so we think it's a very powerful combination. So once we had established that basic construct and that structure, we really weren't worried at all.